You know, a lot of people talk about growing a business, but growth for growth's sake doesn't really mean much unless it's focused on the client. And as we've grown ZRG over these last 10 years, the whole idea has been how can we better serve our client? And as we think about a search, it really begins with the relationship. It's a relationship of trust. It's a relationship of flexibility. Let's serve the client in the best way possible. And then from that relationship, it goes to what's the right solution. Usually there's a industry sector perspective. We bring that to the table, sometimes in the form of a single consultant. Sometimes there's a particular functional need that needs to be brought out in the search process. We'll layer that expertise in. And the geography piece then can be important as well. We started out as a single continent business and now we play globally. And you combine all of that expertise and you keep in mind that you're still there to serve the client and that the relationship matters most, you end up with a really good solution set for your client. We understand that when search is done in a transparent way, when it's done in a fact-based way, and then when there are tools to help us validate and get to better decisions, it's the best way to do it. So we start with our ZI platform, and ZI really allows us to run a transparent process and to make sure that we're fully aligned from the beginning to the end of the search. And when we make changes and when the scope creeps, we do it knowingly as opposed to us losing our way throughout the search. So we begin by really understanding what is critical to success for this candidate. We not only think about the criteria, think about the skills and experiences, but we weight those things, and it allows us to really do values-based judgments on the candidates that we're moving forward. When you layer compensation data on top of that, when you then look at what is the likelihood of transition will happen, will the candidate leave their role currently, will they move across the country? Our transition indicator helps them understand that. And now, and what's really exciting, is we're cracking the code around culture contribution. With the help of walking the talk, we now have the ability to look at what are the cultural archetypes of the company that we're recruiting for, and how will the candidate or set of candidates that we're presenting either move that culture in a positive way, perhaps contribute to the status quo, or potentially not be accretive to the culture that the business is trying to create in alignment with its business strategy. So over the course of time with ZI and with these other tools, you start with a vision for what you want and you build a composite sketch of each of the candidates along the way so that by the time the client sees them, they really understand what they're looking for, what they're interviewing for. And our interview insights tool will then pull all of that client feedback into one place to complete the picture, and we believe that leads to the best decisions. When you're just operating from the perspective of bringing a search to the table, executing that search, completing it, and then waiting for the next one, it's a narrow conversation. Now we go in, we're able to understand what are our clients' problems, what are the human capital challenges that they're facing. When you can bring a multiple layered approach to search that includes these other lines of business, you're now no longer just a search partner, but you're a solutions provider across the spectrum of talent.